Player expectations and values can change quickly in fantasy football. And that's why every week I go through all of the play-by-play data, searching for the latest trends. And over the last 3 games, we have 5 players that are trending up in a major way. These are guys you're going to want to have in your starting lineup more often than not, and some of them might even still be available on your waiver wire. The first guy we have to talk about is Jordan Addison of the Minnesota Vikings. We had already adjusted our expectations once Justin Jefferson left the lineup, going to be gone at least 2 more games, but we're going to have to adjust them again. Addison went off for 31 fantasy points on Monday Night Football against the 49ers, and the utilization was also there. Addison finished second on the team with a 24% target share, and it was even better than that. He had a 30% targets per route run. He would have done more, but he had cramps in the 4th quarter. That held him to a 73% route participation, and the night could have even been bigger. He scored 2 touchdowns. There was a third. There was a miss by Kirk Cousins from 3 yards out. He also had a long play negated by a defensive pass interference. And I want to be bullish with Addison while Justin Jefferson is out of the lineup. We don't often get so many things that line up like we're seeing for Addison. This was a very good player coming out of college. He had a 25% target share as a freshman. He was at the 85th percentile in our wide receiver rookie supermodel. 56% of wide receivers that did that went on to have a top 24 finish in their first 3 seasons. And then when we talk about the Vikings, we've got the quality quarterback with Kirk Cousins. He supported multiple fantasy weapons multiple times in his career, and the 8% drop back rate over expectation ranks 2nd in the league. The Vikings want to pass no matter what. When we add it all up, Addison upgrades to a low-end wide receiver 2. It's pretty rare with my process that I move up a guy multiple tiers, but with Addison, it just makes too much sense. With all of these things adding up, I'm going to be answering most start-sit questions until Justin Jefferson's back with Start Addison. Once we have Jefferson back, he moves to low-end wide receiver 3, but he's still going to have upside because of the pass-first mentality of the Vikings. Now, a little later, we will take a look at another huge upgrade wide receiver, but this one does not have a teammate that's going to be returning from injury. That could give them staying power, and oh, by the way, they're still available in some fantasy leagues. But right now, we've got to dive into another rookie who's about to see playing time increase, just like what we saw with Addison, and that's tight end Dalton Kincaid of the Bills. In Buffalo, we've got an injury situation with Dawson Knox, where he's going to require wrist surgery and is going to miss some time. That's really important because we saw Dalton Kincaid last week score a season-high 16 fantasy points, but he still only had a 63% route participation because he was splitting time with Dawson Knox. On average, Kincaid has had 27 routes per game. That number could push towards 40 in the games that we don't have Dawson Knox. Just for reference, Travis Kelce over the last 3 seasons, 37 routes per game. Now, this doesn't mean that suddenly Dalton Kincaid turns into Travis Kelce. He's going to have to earn targets, but the positive thing is a 21% target share this season for Dalton Kincaid in plays without Dawson Knox on the field. So I am expecting more playing time and more targets to come his way. So in a pass-first offense with a great quarterback and not much target competition behind Stephon Diggs, the Bills are looking for someone to step up. This is a major upgrade for Dalton Kincaid. He moves to low-end tight end 1 status, but he has mid-range tight end 1 upside starting this week. Now, we still have another pass catcher to get to, but before we do, we've got to turn our attention to running back, and there's no better place that I can think of than LA, where Darrell Henderson, a free agent just a week ago, signs with the Rams and leads this backfield. So with Kyren Williams out of the game due to the high ankle sprain, he's going to miss at least 3 more contests. Darrell Henderson came in and saw a 58% snap share and took 60% of the rushing attempts. He had 18 carries and 2 targets, a 20 opportunity game. This is despite Royce Freeman already being on the roster, understanding the scheme, being in shape. The team still went to Henderson. Now, this is very interesting to me for a couple of reasons. We have seen Sean McVay load up his running backs with bell cow utilization. We had Todd Gurley back in the day. Cam Akers has had his turn. No one expected what we got from Kyren Williams to begin this year, and that brings me to the next point. Darrell Henderson has been in that group before. Sean McVay trusts this player. And that brings me to my not so bold take heading into week 8. I think he's going to see even more utilization going forward. This is a massive upgrade. I know it sounds weird, a free agent just a week ago, but he's now a low-end running back 2, and he could climb his way all the way to high-end running back 2 status before we see Kyren Williams return. He's going to be a start in many start-sit conversations. Tough matchup this weekend against the Cowboys, but the utilization's going to be there. So we have one more running back we've got to look at here that gets an upgrade, and we've got to go to New England, where there's been a shakeup on offense. They've realized that what they were doing early on in the year was not working, and that's been a really good thing for Ramondre Stevenson over the last 2 games. Over the last 2 games, we've seen the return of Ramondre Stevenson, the target earner, the pass catcher. We have 20 and 21% target shares. He's taken over most of the long down and distance work and 100% of the 2-minute offense. This was always the path for Ramondre. This was what insulated him from the Patriots, even though they could be a bad offense. It would help actually lead to more receiving production for Stevenson. And that has played out over the last 2 games where he scored 18 and 15 fantasy points. Now, part of the trade-off here has been giving Ezekiel Elliott a little bit more of the rushing workload, but that's okay. We are willing to take that trade-off to get Ramondre Stevenson out into space when he's getting his touches. We get the extra points for the receptions in our PPR and half PPR leagues. In fact, looking at PPR data going back to 2011 and the role that Ramondre Stevenson is now in, the average running back scored 15.8 points per game and finished as the running back 11. When you put all the puzzle pieces together around Ramondre Stevenson, he upgrades to a mid-range running back 2. And the beautiful part about it is he has not had that blow-up game yet. He has a 25-point outing in him. That makes him a great buy low candidate. Could happen as soon as this weekend in a shootout against the Dolphins. And that brings us to our final player. Honestly, a guy that I never thought that I would be giving this kind of upgrade to, but he's proving me wrong, and that is Josh Palmer of the Chargers. Now, there are reasons I haven't been in on Josh Palmer, and it's primarily the fact that he was never a high-end target earner in college. He's not been one so far in the pros, even in stints with both Mike Williams and Keenan Allen out of the lineup. Having said that, what he's done over the last 3 games since Mike Williams has been out is proving me wrong. He has target shares of 35%, 21%, and 25%. He's averaging 7.3 targets per game and 13 fantasy points. So with Palmer now earning targets, there's a lot to like here. We have a Chargers offense that ranks number 5 in drop back rate over expectation at 5%. We've got Justin Herbert, a quality quarterback. And behind Keenan Allen, there's not a lot of competition for targets. Quentin Johnston, first-round pick out of TCU, he's been a flop so far, not even getting on the field for 70% of pass plays. And when he's out there, he's not earning targets. And when we look at historical comps for Palmer, data back to 2011, 13.1 fantasy points per game, average finish of wide receiver 29. This is a big upgrade for Palmer. He moves into low-end wide receiver 3 status. He could climb as high as a high-end wide receiver 3, and he's going to give you spike games that are wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 1 worthy. And in very small leagues, he might still be available. Heading into the waiver wire run this week, he was still around in 40% of leagues.